Hello, welcome into Fantasy Baseball today on Thursday, June 13th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White and Chris Towers. Today on the show, we have rankings, risers, and fallers. I have questions about 3 starting pitchers, hitters who've turned their seasons around, and much more. Let's jump in.
Oh, my goodness. Holy cow. Do you believe it?
All right, Scott, what made you say, holy cow? Do you believe it on Wednesday?
Well, in a year when pitching has been so prevalent, it's the bad pitching performance that catches my attention the most, especially when it happens twice in a row. And that's what's happened for a certain Reese Olson, who I have mostly spoken highly of this year. Continually called him under-rostered, have continually included him among my sleeper pitchers, including this week going against the Nationals lineup. But it did not go well. He gave up 5 runs, 4 earned in 5 1/3 innings, 10 hits, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. It was bad. This was his second straight start, allowing double-digit hits. He now has a 10.34 ERA in 3 June starts, taking his season ERA from 1.92 to 3.68. And clearly has some things he needs to work on here. It's clearly having some issues. Now, the knock on Reese Olson was that he doesn't have a particularly good fastball, but I thought it wouldn't be such a big deal. A, because he doesn't overuse the fastball. He throws it about an equal measure with his slider and changeup. 2 secondary offerings that both have better than a 40% whiff rate. You know, usually if you have one pitch with a 40% whiff rate, it's really good news. He has 2. But you know, it was working for a while. Even when it was working, he wasn't getting a lot of strikeouts, though. I don't know if he needs to throw the fastball even less. I don't know exactly what's wrong. I'm not a pitching coach. There's really no reason for me to speculate. What my role here is, it's to say that got to pump the brakes on Reese Olson. I'm going to stop recommending him for the time being. If you need to free up a roster spot, I think it's totally fine to drop him. Nobody's picking him up after these last 2 starts. It was a struggle to get people to pick him up when he had a sub-2 ERA. And, you know, maybe he'll turn things around, but he's given you an excuse to try something else.
And he was going to be part of a drop-o-meter segment a little bit later on. You pretty much just hit on it, Scott, but if you had to rate it 1 to 10, is it all the way up to a 10? You can drop Reese Olson for anybody?
Well, rarely do I go to the extreme, and I probably won't hear either. Let's call it an 8. I think I would not drop Reese Olson in a deeper league, like a 15-team roto league where there's peanuts on the waiver wire. Like I still think the odds are better than not that Reese Olson will be a positive fantasy contributor from this point forward. But in shallower leagues, the kinds most people play in where roster space is always scarce, like I said, I think you have an excuse now to try out someone else.
And we will get to waiver wire pitchers a little bit later on, so we'll compare and contrast. You know, do we drop Reese Olson for this player, that player? We'll get to that in a little bit. Chris, you are up. Player of the night.
Jackson Merrill, who it's a weird player to talk about this season because if we grade on the curve of 20 years old when he made his major league debut, played 46 games at AA last season and never played at AAA. He's having a really good season even before his 2 homers on Wednesday. He was basically a league average hitter. He's been a fine base runner. He's been a pretty good defensive player, having a really nice season given the circumstances. But you don't get fantasy points for overcoming the odds or however you want to put it. And so the question has been, can Jackson Merrill turn an interesting skill set, which primarily has been very contact oriented, into something more viable for fantasy? And seeing him hit 2 home runs today, one of them was 99 mile an hour exit velocity, wasn't exactly crushed, but still, I do think it's worth noting, and additionally worth noting, that he has been one of the bigger underperformers in baseball this year based on his expected stats. Jackson Merrill came into today with a 299 expected batting average, was top 5% in Major League Baseball, and a 467 expected slugging percentage. That's a 167 expected ISO compared to entering today a 110 ISO. So if you are a believer, actually that's after today, a 110 ISO. So if you are a believer in the validity and utility of those stats, I think Jackson Merrill's a buy. And I tend to be a believer in the validity and utility of those stats. So I am saying buy Jackson Merrill.
I think most people are still believers as well because he's 83% roster.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising.
Everything has been there to drop Jackson Merrill. He's not playing against every single lefty, so he's sitting out here or there. And the overall production, I think you hit it right. It's like he's been a great baseball player for the circumstances, right? Like just being thrown in there, learning a new position. Like he's been a great real life baseball player. It hasn't translated much to fantasy yet. He's
been awesome in the outfield for the most part too.
Yeah.
So the last time we talked about Jackson Merrill, or at least the last time I talked about him, I was saying you could consider dropping him in part because he just wasn't playing that much anymore. I think it was exactly a week ago. He was one of my rankings movers a week ago. Moved outside my top 25 at shortstop. And he has started against the last 3 left-handers.
Yeah, I think he's only sat 1 game in June so far, I think.
Yeah, so he's been playing a lot more. And I would say from a developmental standpoint, his rookie season has been very encouraging. I still don't know that there's a ton of fantasy utility for it because it's so batting average focused. His whole approach is it's a very up the middle line drive focused approach. And I'm not sure a 2-homer game changes that, particularly since one of the homers, as you pointed out, Chris, was kind of a cheapie. If it does change, then obviously great, but I'm not, this was an issue for Jackson Merrill coming up through the minors too, is they were working on optimizing his launch angle to deliver power. And I don't think he ever quite got there in the minors. The numbers don't suggest he did. And so far his rookie season's played out similarly. So, is Jackson Merrill more usable in fantasy than David Hamilton, for instance, who's playing about as often for the Red Sox? He's contributing a lot of stolen bases. He is overperforming his StatCast numbers, but while Jackson Merrill is not contributing much power or speed, David Hamilton's contributing about the same amount of power and more speed. So yeah, I don't know that I'm as I have as much optimism for Merrill as you guys, just strictly talking from a rest of season perspective. But the fact that he's playing more than he seemed to be a week ago, I think is the most encouraging aspect of all this.
I think the biggest thing for me is just you were probably considering dropping him. I think it's fine not to now.
I will quickly add some context to the home runs. I know one of them was not hit hard, but he also hit one of them off of a lefty, and the other one was a walk-off homer off Mason Miller. So pretty impressive day all around for Jackson Merrill. And last thing I'll point out, the sprint speed, 82nd percentile according to StatCast. So I think the way that this could work out is really good batting average, 10 to 15 home runs, and if he really taps into that speed, like, can we get 25 to 30 steals? I think it's possible.
He's on
the most likely outcome, but he's on like a 21 steal pace right now. Yeah. So, a little bit more aggressive. And yeah, I think we could have a much better fantasy player there in Jackson Merrill. Oh my goodness gracious, for me is going to be Jose Soriano, who just wrapped up a great start at the D-backs where he went 8+ innings. He actually started the 9th. He was going for a complete game. He allowed 2 runs, 5 hits, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, had 12 whiffs on 97 pitches. The last 2 starts, he's really leaned more into his sinker, which, part of the reason why we haven't seen as many strikeouts. It's a weird profile because he throws extremely hard. He has an amazing curveball, and you would expect him to get more strikeouts than he does just based on how hard he throws and having that really good secondary pitch. He only threw the curveball 16% in this start. I really wish that he would use that curveball more. But we were talking beforehand and kind of joking around, like looking at his numbers, it's very Framber Valdez-esque, right? He doesn't have the track record of a Framber Valdez, but a 61% ground ball rate. He's doing a good job limiting runs so far. It's a 3.48 ERA, a 1.18 WHIP. Jose Soriano is 35% rostered. Should that number be higher?
Yeah, probably. I don't know that he needs to be 60% rostered, but he's highly usable, and the relief pitcher eligibility makes him especially usable in points leagues. And I think the Framber Valdez comp is a pretty good one. The biggest issue is walks. I'd like to see Jose Soriano walk fewer. But that was a problem for Framber Valdez early in his career too. The elite ground ball skills are a pretty strong selling point. 60% walk rate for Soriano.
Ground ball rate.
Yeah, sorry, ground ball rate. He has, he throws a lot harder than Framber Valdez, and he has a wide arsenal of pitches. So, in some ways, comparing him to Framber Valdez, I wonder if it undersells the upside, which I don't know. Maybe I don't want to say that because obviously Framber Valdez has been a really good fantasy pitcher for the past few years. How could you get much better? It's unrealistic to think Soriano is going to be better than that. But there are a lot of tools here, I think, beyond just the ground ball rate that make me optimistic about Soriano's future.
Chris, would you drop Reese Olson for Jose Soriano?
Yeah, I think I would. I think that's fine. There are other pitchers who pitched tonight who are somewhat widely available that I think I would prioritize over him. I would rather have Jake Irvin, I think, who is 65% rostered. But yeah, I think Soriano versus Olson is an interesting one in Soriano's benefit.
And I'm not sure that I would. If I had to start somebody next week, I don't have the matchups in front of me, but I presume I'd rather start Soriano than Olson next week. But they're close in the rankings, and Irvin would be close to them too. So it's the sort of thing where it's hard to be committal. I think if we're pointing out things I like about those three pitchers, the thing I like the most about any of those three pitchers is that Olson has the two pitches with better than a 40% whiff rate. So that's why, like, if we're assessing from a rest of season perspective, I'm probably going to put Olson ahead, but in the short term, he's unusable. So I get it.
Want to give an honorable mention to Corey Seager in his first game back in Dodger Stadium. Technically second. He was in Dodger Stadium on Tuesday, but he didn't play in that game. He hit a go-ahead 3-run homer off his former teammate Walker Buehler. So the drama lives on with Corey Seager and the Dodgers. Oh my goodness gracious, lineup of the day. I did this yesterday. I feel like anytime we just get a massive team performance, I should probably just do something like this. But the Twins, they scored 17 runs on 24 hits. Royce Lewis continues to crush the ball since returning 3 for 5 with his 5th home run. He added 3 runs and 2 RBI. Carlos Correa, 5 for 6. 5 singles, no extra base hits in this one. But impressive nonetheless. 3 runs scored. He's quietly hitting .290 with an .815 OPS. Willie Castro, 3 for 5 with his 5th home run. And Carlos Santana went 3 for 5 with a double and 4 RBI. Last 30 games for Santana, he's batting .289, 6 homers, 20 RBI, and an .881 OPS. Lots of names here, Chris. Would you be looking to add, do you think Willie Castro needs to be more than 63% rostered or Santana more than 13%?
If one of them is under rostered, it's probably Santana, but I don't think there needs to be a high priority in adding either of them. Like Castro, the biggest thing is she's not running very much. And that was such a big part of his game last season. The quadruple eligibility really helps his appeal. But even then, I think 63% roster is probably fine because I don't know if he matters much in points leagues. So Santana at 13%, maybe that should be 24%, but I don't think either of them should be a necessarily a high priority.
My biggest takeaway from this offensive explosion for the Twins was Carlos Correa going 5 for 6. So now he's batting .290, which looks a lot better than the .271 he was batting coming in. And yet his expected batting average is .286. It's closer to where it is now after the 5-hit game. It's 90th percentile to go along with a 77th percentile X slug. Carlos Correa's StatCast page is all lit up in red, but it certainly doesn't feel like he's that caliber of player anymore.
I mean,
he has 5 homers and 0 steals. It's just empty.
Yeah. And so it's like, is it kind of Xander Bogaerts-y, except Bogaerts, at least last year, was running.
Bogaerts was still good.
Yeah. So
it's pretty useful in a points league, though.
Yeah, and even in a roto league as a middle infielder, I think Carlos Correa is totally fine. You know, you look at the run and RBI numbers, which have been the biggest problem for him in the past couple of years, even when he's been healthy. You remember 2022, he had a really nice season. It was like an 820 or 833 OPS, 291 average, 22 homers, only 134 combined runs and RBI though that year. This year, if we give him 150 game pace, he's played 50 games now. Let's just make the math easy. And I'm going to have to do a little bit of math in my head. So easy may be overstating it, but I believe it's 84 runs and 84 RBI combined, or 84 runs and 84 RBI pace for 150 games. That's not great, but it's pretty good. Like, I think I expect more than a 15 homer pace for Carlos Correa the rest of the way. I'd put it more at 20.
Yeah.
And then you start looking at the run and RBI numbers, and it's like, well, if he can be an 85 run and RBI guy, and he can hit 280, and he can hit 20 home runs, it's not a superstar, but that's a pretty useful player, even without any speed.
Yeah, especially in this environment. 280, 20, 85, 85. That'd be a pretty good player. So Carlos Correa doing some things right now. He's not available, I don't think. No, 92% roster. So if you have him, I think just stick with him because he's playing pretty well.
And I also we've hit this one before, but man, Royce Lewis, it just 5 homers in 5 homers in 9 games.
That sounds right.
He has played since the end of the 2019 season, 132 games total. That's across every. Well, I guess it's 140 if you include the playoffs. That he is doing all of this after tearing his ACL twice, missing the entire 2020 season with no competitive games because of COVID, missing the entire 2021 season because of that torn ACL. Like, it's remarkable what he's doing. And I know the underlying numbers don't entirely back it up. This is one of those situations where I kind of just take the surface level numbers as at more or less face value, despite the small sample size and despite the underlying not quite backing it up, just because the degree of difficulty here is just, it's higher than I think anyone in baseball.
Yeah. He's not going to hit at this pace, but I agree with you that if there was a player that's going to outperform their expected numbers, it's that freak athlete outlier, former top prospect in baseball. And so with that, I do give Royce Lewis the benefit of the doubt. It's just stay on the field. That's the last part that we need to see from Royce Lewis. Quick promotion. Thanks for watching. Everyone here, hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/fantasybaseball today. And if you enjoy the audio podcast, make sure to leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple and Spotify. It helps a lot, and we really do appreciate it. Let's take our first break, and when we return, we'll hit the news and notes. We'll do that right after this.
NWSL newcomers battle it out for the first time in league history. Sunday on CBS Sports Network. Keep your eyes on me.
Welcome back in. The news and notes. The Astros announced that Kyle Tucker is not expected to be ready to return from the IL on Friday. He's dealing with that shin contusion, has yet to resume baseball activities. As we learn more, we will keep you updated. Garrett Cole will make his next rehab start Friday at AAA. When Aaron Boone was asked if this will be Cole's final rehab start, he said, quote, "We'll see." All right. Yoshinobu Yamamoto's next start will be pushed back from Thursday to Saturday against the Royals. I was listening to the Dodgers broadcast. They brought up the fact that his last start out, emotional start in Yankee Stadium, the velocity was up, so they wanted to give him a little bit extra rest between starts, and so Yamamoto is starting this Saturday instead. Corey Seager returned to the Rangers lineup after missing 4 straight with that left hamstring injury. Mentioned he hit the 3-run homer. Edwin Diaz will immediately become the Mets closer upon his activation on Thursday. Jack Flaherty said he's feeling better and has been cleared to start Saturday against the Astros. Andres Munoz had an MRI and bone scan on his back, come back clean, but he received an injection to address the lingering soreness. Brian Woo's MRI came back perfectly clean, and he could be reinserted into the Mariners rotation as early as next week. This one is still just so weird. He missed the start of the season, first 6 weeks or so with that elbow inflammation. We hear between starts here and there that the arm doesn't feel right. He goes for an MRI and just everything's perfect. Seems a little weird.
And he's certainly pitching well. He's got like a 0.5 whip.
Yes.
I will just say, given how fastball heavy he has had to be to succeed, he's throwing like 80% fastballs or something. Yeah, 80% fastballs.
When you combine, I think, 4-seam and sinker together.
Yeah, and like his fastball doesn't have like a Bryce Miller whiff rate. It's 24% with the 4-seamer. And given all of the injury concerns here, this feels like one of the more clear sells. If anyone's buying, obviously they can also click the little red cross next to his name and see that he has had a lengthy, concerning history of injuries so far.
Updating the ranks on Wednesday, I had no idea where to put Brian Wu because on a per inning basis, he's been awesome. I have no idea how this is going to end for him.
Yeah.
Kodai Senga will throw 2 more bullpen sessions before progressing to face hitters. Randy Arozarena has missed 2 straight with right hamstring tightness. Astros manager Joe Espada expects Yainer Diaz to be available to return to the lineup on Friday. Joey Ortiz has missed 2 straight with a right hamstring issue. Jason Dominguez was reinstated from the 60-day IL, but optioned to AAA as expected. And the Dodgers acquired Kevin Biggio from the Blue Jays and threw him right in the lineup at third base on Wednesday. Miguel Vargas was optioned back to AAA. Let's talk rankings, risers, and fallers. As always, you could find our rankings at cbssports.com/fantasy/baseball/rankings. Long link, as always. We got to find a way to shorten that thing.
There's a drop down where you can find it pretty easily right there at the top of the page.
Yeah. Scott has an article that comes out every Wednesday, which highlights his rankings, risers, and fallers. And we will start there.
Also links to the rankings page, so you can find it all over the place.
You can find it everywhere. It's very easy to find the rankings. Scott, who are some of the biggest movers for you?
Well, for the second straight week, I'm here to tell you there is a new number 1 outfielder. And in my mind, number 1 overall player as well. And it's Aaron Judge. It's Aaron Judge. I think I mentioned this a few days ago, but in case you missed that one or you were zoning out as I was saying it, I think what we're seeing from Aaron Judge this year is awfully reminiscent of 2022. Not just that, he's hitting a lot of home runs, but he is the player best suited, most optimized to maintain his usual production in an environment where hitting is suppressed, like 2022. All he did in 2022 was hit more home runs ever for someone without steroid ties. He hit 16 more home runs than anyone else. He is such an outlier, specifically for barrel rate. You know, the exit velocities are huge and all of that stuff, but specifically for barrel rate, the most optimized exit velocity and launch angle on contact, so far ahead of everybody else that he's kind of immune to the big swings we see and how the ball is performing from year after year. And so in a year like this, where the ball doesn't seem to be carrying very well, where home run production is down across the league, that's going to allow Judge to separate himself further from the pack. And, you know, that 2022 season, he was far and away. He was about as distant a number 1 in fantasy as Ronald Acuna was last year. And, you know, right now he's got a 5 homer advantage over number 2.
4.
Gunnar Henderson, but I think I expect Gunnar Henderson's pace will slow some because it's like over a 50 homer pace, but Judge's may not. And, he could, if he stays healthy, he could end up being just as distant of a number one this year. So I moved him up. I moved Bailey Ober down. I dropped him outside of my top 60. His ERA is over 5 now. Still does a good job of limiting base runners, low whip, but he is susceptible to home runs. I think the ERA is going to be better than 5, but in a pitching-rich environment like this, you got a guy who doesn't get many strikeouts, doesn't work deep into games consistently, and has a home run issue unlike few pitchers do. It seems like he should be on the fringes of roster ability. And so that's where I've moved him in my rankings, dropping him outside the top 60, like I said. That's Bailey Ober. And finally, Garrett Cole here. You mentioned Frank. He's making what could be his last rehab start. Maybe he has one more after that, but he's close. He's close to returning. I'm not sure this is enough of a move up considering I have him 31st in my starting pitcher rankings, which to put that in perspective, that has him ahead of the Millers, Bryson Bobby, Ryan Pepio, Kyle Bradish, Carlos Rodon. It has him behind Framber Valdez, Grayson Rodriguez, Tanner Houck, Sonny Gray, Luis Heel.
Who would you rather have the rest of the way? Garrett Cole or Luis Heel?
Yeah, we did this last time. And look, there are only 5 spots apart in my rankings, so it's not like I can say with a lot of conviction one or the other. But given that we don't know exactly how this is going to play out with Garrett Cole, he could say after his next rehab start, I'm still feeling it in my elbow. I got to shut down again.
Yeah.
As of today, I got to say Heel. And so that's why I still have him ranked behind Heel.
It's so tough to say because I moved Garrett Cole up to SP 28. I have Luis Heel at 33. You're right, Scott. I mean, that is within the range of outcomes for Garrett Cole, but my expectation is from this point forward, Garrett Cole will throw more innings this season than Luis Heel. And
that's your expectation.
I think that would be my expectation too.
And if that's the case, why would I not say Garrett Cole over?
Yeah, like that's the thing is Luis Heel's been awesome this year. Garrett Cole, pretty famously, good pitcher.
Oh yeah.
Don't know if you guys have heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're saying if you got in your inbox an offer, you have Luis Heel currently. He's helped you to a high spot in the standings. In your inbox, somebody's offering you Garrett Cole.
It's so tough, man. Like I have moved Garrett Cole ahead of Luis Heel. I have, look at this, 3 Yankees in a row. Garrett Cole at 31, Carlos Rodon at 32, Luis Heel at 33. I genuinely don't know which of the 3 I would prefer the rest of the way. Heel, I think, is currently the best pitcher, but it's also a month and a half where he's been not just like, it's a month and a half where Luis Heel has been a good major league pitcher, basically. He wasn't very good in April. The ERA was fine, but it was, a 20% walk rate. I have more concerns about him throwing 100 more innings the rest of the way, certainly, than anyone else. Cole, probably I have the second most concerns about that. So yeah,
Garrett Crochet, we've talked about him in those terms before.
I had Garrett Crochet's one. I have no idea what to expect the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Just because Luis Heel has less than a year and a half of service time. I think Garrett Crochet's up to 4 already.
Yeah.
Like they don't.
Yeah, he's closer to free
the White Sox
agency than.
Don't have any real long-term commitment to Garrett Crochet. They want to get value out of him right now, which is a point Scott has been making since April. And so I don't really, it's tough. He's a few spots ahead of that group, but it's tough. I do want to talk about, I know we want to move on, but Bailey Ober is a really interesting one because his changeup looks awesome. 231 expected WOBA, 34% whiff rate. This new cutter that he added this offseason that we were all really excited for has been a really good pitch. 296 expected WOBA, 22% whiff rate. Slider, 215 expected WOBA. Very rarely throws a curveball, but even that pitch has had really good results so far. And his fastball is just an absolute disaster.
It's basically
425 expected WOBA.
It's a T-ball holder.
Yeah, and last year, the fastball was a really special pitch. He had a 28% whiff rate and a 306x WOBA. That's really good for a four-seam fastball. And so I don't know what to explain there. Did the cutter ruin the fastball? That's a concern. I think that's a fair question. I haven't moved him quite as far down, but he's SP 49 or 50 for me. So I definitely have my concerns. I'd prefer to hang on to Ober, but I can't say I strongly disagree with anything Scott said.
What makes it even more weird is it doesn't look like the movement profile has changed at
Not
all.
at all,
The fastball. Velocity, movement profile looks the same. So
it's the command. I think he's been like middle with the four seam a lot this year.
I wanted to, with the Garrett Cole thing, I wanted to use it as an excuse to cram in a couple more players here. So Max Scherzer, who's looking good on a rehab assignment, I've got him 37th in between Carlos Rodon and Justin Steele. And Clayton Kershaw, who I think could be back within a month, close to beginning a rehab assignment himself. I've got him 75th now, which is ahead of Brandon Pfaadt and Gavin Stone.
To answer your question earlier, Scott, if I got that trade in my inbox, I would take Garrett Cole for Luis Heel. But that might turn out to be one of the dumbest things I say this year on this podcast. Chris, over to you. Some of the biggest rankings movers.
Yes, Nick Gonzalez, we've talked a ton about. He just continues to hit really, really well. It just looks all around like a really solid profile. He's making a decent amount of contact, not walking a ton, but hitting the ball well, driving in a lot of runs, hitting in the heart of the lineup. I think there's potential for more stolen bases than we've gotten to. I think his sprint speed is like 82nd percentile or something. So there's some upside there. I moved Gunnar Henderson ahead of Elly De La Cruz, which isn't like the biggest move in the world, but
I did too, sitting here on my Reds shirt.
Same.
And it's tough because Ellie's such a tough player to value right now. He has like 48% more steals than anyone in baseball right now. Like he could have, if this pace continues, 25 to 30 more steals than anyone. But that pace has slowed down a little since April, as has everything else. He continues to really struggle as a right-handed hitter. But if he goes on another run for the next month where he has a 900 OPS, would you guys be surprised at all? I wouldn't.
Nope.
So it's entirely possible that we're sitting here at the All-Star break and everybody's screaming that Elly De La Cruz should be the number one player when we do our inevitable redraft. So I don't want to move Elly De La Cruz down too much, but I did move Gunnar Henderson ahead of him.
Oh, and then I'm not sure who else he deserves to move behind other than Gunnar Henderson. It's as much about Gunnar Henderson as Elly De La Cruz, at least in my mind.
Yeah.
Devers has been pretty awesome, but obviously the skill set's not as valuable, and he's had some weird injury issues as well. So I'd probably I'm sticking with Elly De La Cruz ahead of him. And then shortstop, none of the shortstops I think are in that discussion, right?
Maybe when Trey Turner returns, if he looks like himself,
I would put Trey Turner ahead of him if he's healthy.
Yeah,
I've been unsure whether or not Elly De La Cruz needs to drop behind Seager in points leagues.
Yeah,
let's see how things go with the hamstring injury. Obviously, Seager had a good return tonight, but some questions there.
And then at starting pitcher, it's another one where it's more of a move up than a move down, but I did move Paul Skeens ahead of Jared Jones, which we had talked about, I think yesterday or the day before. I'm ready to make that move. And with Skeens, I mean, he's already taken off like a rocket ship. Best pitcher in baseball is within the realm of possibility, which is most hype pitching prospects in Steven Strasburg. It's not exactly a surprise there that upside is there, although the fact that it's been this quick, the fact that he's got, I think, only relievers ahead of him in K- walk rate for the season. He's 44 in my overall rankings. He's 17 at SP. But as I said yesterday, 37 overall is my number 12 starting pitcher. So wouldn't take much to move ahead of him. My number 10 SP is 34th. So it would take very little in terms of the next 3 or so weeks for Paul Skeens to become a top 10 starting pitcher for me.
Paul Skeens, by the way, ranked top 20 starting pitcher for all three of us, and now ahead of Jared Jones in all three of our rankings.
There you go.
Some movers for me in the rankings. Bo Bichette, he's moving on down. He's down to shortstop 13 for me. I moved him behind Ha-Sung Kim, Willie Adames, and Anthony Volpe. I just think Adames and Volpe have been doing this for too long, and Bo Bichette not pulling the ball, this offensive environment, the fact that offense has been way down in Rogers Center since they made those renovations last season. It's happened for too long. And so as a result, I have moved Bo Bichette down to 13th at shortstop. Jarren Duran is up in the outfield rankings. He's up to 22nd in head-to-head points, 19 in roto. And he had another good game here on Wednesday, 3 for 5 with a double, a run, and an RBI. He actually entered Wednesday as a top 10 outfielder in both formats. Now, I don't think that's going to remain, or else I would rank him there. But I think he's worthy of, being inside the top 24 at least in the rankings in both formats. And Scott, you win for now. Mitch Keller is up to SP 48 for me. The last 6 starts, 113 ERA, a 101 whip, doing a much better job with the walks and with the quality of contact. I have this big, let's call it a mini glob of just veteran pitchers who kind of pitch to contact. It's Mitch Keller, Seth Lugo, Verlander, Barrios, Bassett, all those kinds of names. And Mitch Keller is at the top of that list. So
yeah. And they're kind of moving together, right?
Yeah. I thought he was deserving of that honor. And so he's pitched really well and he has moved up the rankings. Let's take our final break. And when we return, we will recap the rest of Wednesday's action right after this.
Have you heard of semaglutides? Ozempic, Mounjaro?
Hartman, this could be dangerous. Let's do it.
South Park, The End of Obesity. New exclusive event, now streaming. Exclusively on Paramount Plus.
Welcome back in. Let's take a look at the waiver wire pitchers. And Jake Irvin turned in yet another quality start. He was at the Tigers, 6 innings, 1 run, 5 strikeouts, only had 8 whiffs on 98 pitches. But he has now turned in 5 straight quality starts. He has allowed 2 earned runs or less in 10 of 14 outings this season. We already spoke about Jose Soriano. Cade Povich was much better in his second start. He was up against the Atlanta Braves, who are probably the top team to stream against right now in fantasy baseball. It's
fewest runs scored since April 24th.
Yeah.
Crazy.
They are stinky.
And they were first in runs scored up to that point, which is just a complete 180. It's wild. Cade Povich threw 6 shutout innings, 5 hits, 0 walks, 6 strikeouts, 14 whiffs on 89 pitches. I didn't watch the start live, but I watched the highlights. That curveball was filthy. The velocity was up, and it did a lot of good things here for Cade Povich. And Spencer Schwellenbach on the other side turned in a quality start, 6 innings, 2 runs, 3 strikeouts, 9 whiffs on 89 pitches. Completely changed his pitch mix in this start compared to his first 2 starts. Scott, how would you rank these 4 in terms of your interest level? Jake Irvin, Soriano, Povich, and Schwellenbach.
Well, I think Irvin is the clear number 1. And in a normal league environment, maybe I wouldn't say that. But I think he is going to continue to thrive as long as home runs don't surge too much in the summer months. I'm rooting for home runs to go up, so maybe I'm rooting against Jake Irvin to continue to succeed. But he has elite control, 1.7 walks per 9. The FIP is in line with the ERA. Now, the XFIP's higher, but I think given that we're struggling to tell what kind of fly ball translates to a home run, I think FIP is more just how many home runs have you actually allowed, I think is the better gauge for what an ERA should be, and Jake Irvin's is right in line with his FIP. As I've pointed out many times before, his top 2 pitches, fastball and curveball, very low batting average against both this year and last year. And I think he's a really solid choice in fantasy right now. I moved him into my top 90. So he's made that cut in the very deep pitching rankings. Jose Soriano, I'd put second for all the reasons we already talked about. Not a ton of interest in Povich or Schwellenbach, given how pitching rich we all are. But Povich did show a little more upside in this start, threw a lot more strikes. That was, I think, the most encouraging sign for me. More than 70% strikes after 58% in his first start, and showed that he has some swing and miss stuff here. I'm not totally dismissive of Schwellenbach. He seems to have elite control. His approach is more the let me throw 6 different pitches in a wide variety of ways, and maybe one will be working tonight. But it's, he keeps hitters off balance with that, and he's throwing strikes consistently, like I said. So I think he's going to be good at limiting hard contact. I'm not sure the extent of his upside, but if Hurston Waldrop goes out and has another stinker, I think Schwellenbach's going to stick around for a while.
Yeah, this does make Hurston Waldrop a little riskier. I think, in terms of the rookies who were called up like over the last week or so, I think I'd still prioritize Waldrop ahead of Povich, but I think I'd be okay with Povich ahead of Drew Thorpe. I don't have like a strong call either way on that because I think they're both probably pretty fringy. But Povich's team context is just so much better that if he sticks around, the one thing that we've said about the Orioles consistently is like, if you can be a league average pitcher pitching for the Baltimore Orioles right now, you can probably be pretty close to a must start fantasy player because you're going to get a lot of wins. Your ERA is going to be lower than it should be. So if I think both Povich and Drew Thorpe are average-ish, I'll give Povich the edge. The one thing I want to point out on Jake Irvin is I would imagine we all have Seth Lugo ranked significantly ahead of Jake Irvin. For me, it's only like 20 spots, but I think for Scott, it's like 40. If I remember, you had Lugo like 43rd. There is basically no difference between their statistical profiles outside of 2 stats. Innings, Seth Lugo's pitched 10 more of them in the same number of starts. That's not insignificant. And wins, obviously. Seth Lugo has won 9 of his 14 starts. Jake Irvin has won 5. I don't expect Seth Lugo to win 20 games this season. I don't know about you guys. So that one I don't really care too much about. The innings one, Lugo does seem to be one of those rubber arm guys that they're rare guys who can throw 110 pitches in a game and his team will let him. But Irvin has the better strikeout rate, the better walk rate. Ground ball rate, identical. Home run to fly ball rate, basically identical. Home runs per 9, basically identical. ERA, okay, Lugo's got the edge there. FIP, Jake Irvin 3.22, Seth Lugo 3.46. XFIP 3.54 to 3.92 in Irvin's favor. Entering today's start, they both had 3.83 xERAs. I'm not saying Irvin's better. I think it makes sense to value Lugo because of the innings and because he has a longer track record of being a solid pitcher, but
really big park he pitches into.
Good park, yeah. But I don't think there's much difference between the two of them in skill set. It might just be Lugo's circumstances are a little better, although it might be unfair to say this because the Yankees are probably the best team in baseball right now, but feels a little like the Royals got exposed over the last 3 days. I think this is a team that's been playing way over their head in a lot of different ways, and they're probably not going to be this good moving forward. But I think Jake Irvin's a lot closer to Seth Lugo than the conventional wisdom would suggest right now.
Yeah, and I don't have them that far apart. I have Lugo SP49. I moved Jake Irvin up to SP70, which sounds like a lot, but it's really not like 20. That deep in the rankings. It's kind of negligible, but I don't disagree with any of that. Some pitchers in deeper leagues. Tobias Myers has turned in 2 strong starts in a row. This one against the Blue Jays, 6 innings, 1 run, had 4 strikeouts. His last 2 starts, he's allowed just 1 earned run over 14 innings. Hogan Harris has pitched well for the A's. He was at San Diego, 5 innings, 2 runs, 5 strikeouts. And so far he has a 2.49 ERA and a 1.11 whip. And Jonathan Cannon, who pitches for the White Sox, was awesome at the Mariners. 7 innings, 1 run, 7 strikeouts, had 17 whiffs on 104 pitches. This is real deep league stuff, but do any of these guys matter? Jonathan Cannon, Hogan Harris, Tobias Myers?
I think you can blame this one on the Mariners and kind of feel like that might be the answer for really all three of these, but also especially Tobias Myers versus Toronto. Just they've been pretty mediocre as well.
There was no Vlad in the lineup either.
Yeah, I was looking into Jonathan Cannon, and I was hoping I could find something because this was an impressive start. 17 whiffs, 7 strikeouts in 7 innings. There's very little in the minor league track record. There's very little in the scouting reports that suggests that he's anything more than a 5th starter type. So I'm going to need to see a lot more than just one start against the most strikeout prone team in Major League history.
Which is disappointing because with a name like Jonathan Cannon,
there's a lot of opportunity.
I wanted him throwing 99, not 93. Come on, man.
What a letdown.
He does get a lot of ground balls, and ground ball pitchers in the minors, their ERAs can often be inflated because the defense just isn't that good behind them. But yeah, I don't think we're going to see many 17 swinging strike efforts from Jonathan Cannon moving forward.
Let's fire up the drop-o-meter. We already spoke about Reese Olson. Would you drop Olson for any of the first group that we mentioned, the Irvin, Soriano, Povich, Schwellenbach?
I feel like we answer this one before.
We kind of answered it at the top of the show, yeah. And I said I
guess so.
I said I'm still going to rank Olson the highest of the 3 rest of season, but they're going to be pretty close. Irvin and Soriano, those 3.
Yeah, I think they're all close. I probably give Olson the edge, but it might be one of those things where this is your last chance to add Jake Irvin, and Reese Olson may be able to sneak through waivers.
Yeah, in a shallow league, I have no problem dropping Olson for Irvin at all because I don't think you're going to lose Olson permanently with that move.
What about Javier Assad, who has struggled over his last 5 starts? He has not completed 6 innings in any of those, and it's a 5.33 ERA, a 162 WHIP. 15 walks over 25 1/3. Walks, home runs have been a problem recently for Javier Assad. He's still 84% rostered. The only thing that might give you a pause, looks like he could be a 2-star pitcher against the Giants and the Mets next week. But where is Assad on the drop-o-meter?
I'll drop it from a 10 to a 9 based on the 2-start week coming up.
I'd say 9 in Roto, 4 in head-to-head points because he is RP eligible. Those 2 starts are pretty awesome. So I'd be holding him in a points league for sure.
It's just his starts are so short. Like it's hard to be. I've said before that it's hard to be worth anything really if you can't go 6 innings more often than not. And he's gone 6 innings 3 times this year.
It's kind of the same
somebody
thing.
Who's pitching well.
We Frank and I talked about this yesterday about Jordan Hicks, where he's one of those guys who, in theory, should be better in points leagues because of that RP eligibility. But because he never goes deep into games, wins and quality starts, which are, I think, can potentially add 9 points to your
between the 2, 10 points.
10 points, okay.
Yeah, add it together. Standard CBS scoring.
That if you can do that regularly, that's super valuable. But if you can't, it doesn't really matter that much that you're RP eligible. So I'd hold him for next week, but in the long run, I think very droppable.
New week, same question. Walker Buehler up against the Rangers, 5 innings, 3 runs, 2 of those earned, only 2 strikeouts, had 7 whiffs on 88 pitches, 10 hard hits allowed in this game. And he went mostly cutter sinker in this start, accounted for 71% of his pitches. You can tell that he is searching for something right now. It's been a struggle coming back from the second Tommy John. 7 starts, a 4.64 ERA, a 1.48 WHIP. He absolutely is not playable right now, but what do you think about droppable?
Yeah, here's a quote that I think sums it up from Walker Buehler after the game. It's a nice, colorful one. This is Mike DiGiovanni from the Los Angeles Times. Walker Buehler said the TrackMan numbers on his ineffective 4-seam fastball, which Corey Seager hit for a 3-run homer, are similar to what they were pre-TJ surgery, but, quote, it doesn't have that FU behind it. And he did not just say the letter in the actual quote. Apparently that went out on live TV. So that tells you where Walker Buehler is right now. He was not angry, but yeah, he's searching for it and he has not found it. I'm not dropping him. I don't think I could bring myself to do that. I think the fully realized version of Walker Buehler that we might get at some point is so much better than Jake Irvin and whoever else we want to talk about. I'd much rather start Jake Irvin next week than Walker Buehler, though. So the drop-o-meter, I would say 2 or 3. Start-o-meter, also 2 or 3.
Oh,
I invented the start-o-meter just now, by the way. That's patented.
I'll go 4 on drop-o-meter for Buehler. I don't. It's not unthinkable to drop him, but you need to have somebody. You need to be picking up somebody really good.
Mm-hmm.
It'd have to be better than Jake Irvin. It would have to be somebody who's probably too rostered for us to talk about as a potential pickup. He just happens to be available in your league. That sort of situation.
Mm-hmm.
Let's slide into the waiver wire hitters and Jesse Winker. It's starting to feel like he just needs to be rostered in all leagues, 3 outfielder leagues, 5 outfielder leagues. It doesn't matter because he just keeps hitting 2 for 3 with 2 doubles, a run, and an RBI. Last 24 games, batting .333, 2 homers, 13 runs, 12 RBI, 7 steals during that stretch. And he entered Wednesday as the 24th ranked outfielder in Roto and 21st in head-to-head points. Scott, is Jesse Winker just a must roster?
I mean, must is a little strong. I would be fine rostering him even in 3 outfielder leagues, but yeah, I don't think it's automatic. I think the upside is limited. I think he's usable in every format. But I saw George Springer dropped in a 12-team points league a couple weeks ago, and if George Springer isn't, if I can't call him a must roster, I mean, I picked up George Springer, the person who dropped him, but you know what I'm saying? Like, must is a high standard to meet.
Yeah. I'll give you a few names. Would you drop Byron Buxton? He's 86% rostered.
Yeah, I'd rather have Winker than Buxton.
What about Cedric Mullins? He's 80%.
I'd rather have Winker than Mullins.
I think I'd rather have Mullins.
I would take Winker. What about...
The thing is with Winker, nobody buys the 11 stolen bases, right? Like, I know that they've happened.
And they keep happening.
Count.
The Nationals are running a ton, except for CJ Abrams, ironically enough.
They lead baseball steals as a team. It's all they've got going right now.
He has attempted 3 steals over his last 11 games. Remember, he stole a base in 4 straight games at the end of May. He's attempted 3 since then. He's been caught twice.
3
over his last. Like, what would you set the over under on Jesse Winker steals the rest of the way? 4.5?
I'd take the over.
I would take the over too.
I can't. He's slow.
He's probably going to get traded somewhere else.
I mean, Freddie Freeman, what he's done the last 2 years, it's opened my eyes to the kind of player who could steal bases.
Yeah,
it's all about the intent, baby. The Nationals have the will to run.
Intent is very important, but I feel like you start getting caught and the intent goes away pretty quick when you're 17th percentile in sprint speed.
Oh gosh.
And had 3 career steals before this season.
It's got a will to run.
I think that will is likely to run out fairly soon. And his underlying numbers are pretty rotten. Even in this offensive environment, it's a 250 XBA, 360 X slug or 390 X slug. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, that's all fair. It's just
sure he's doing stuff.
I'm kind of approaching it from the perspective of if I have a hitter who's actually doing something, I'm gonna wring whatever I can out of them and then move on if I need to, because it's just so hard to fill out a lineup with hitters who are actually doing stuff.
Last point on Winker, and Scott, you can thank me for tomorrow because this will be one of your sleeper hitters. 6 games next week, 3 in Coors Field.
All right.
Sure. Go add Jesse Winker.
Jesse Winker for next week. Let's go. 4 other waiver wire hitters. Zach Neto, 3 for 5 with his 8th home run. Quietly has 8 home runs and 8 steals, only 32% rostered. Miguel Andujar has multiple hits in 3 of his last 4 games. He is up to a .323 batting average. The underlying numbers are very questionable for Miguel Andujar right now. David Hamilton has been really good for the Red Sox. 2 for 4 with his 4th home run, 2 runs, and 2 RBI. Also has 13 steals on the season. And Donovan Solano in the deepest of leagues. He's getting more run with the Padres. He started 6 straight. He went 2 for 4 with a double dong, only 2% rostered. Chris, do any of these names need to be more rostered? Neto 32%, Andujar 29%, Hamilton 25%, and Donovan Solano 2%.
I know Scott hates Zach Neto, but Frank and I love him.
Love him.
And he's actually been really good since the start of May. Really good might be stretching. He's been pretty good since the start of May. He's got
always stretching it.
He's got like an 800 OPS since the start of May. He's got like a 25 homer, 20 stolen base pace. His lineup spot still doesn't do much. His lineup still doesn't do much to help him. But I'm pretty sure Zach Geloff is still way more rostered than Zach Neto.
Almost.
And I'm not sure that makes sense, given how bad Geloff's been.
I mean, you're touting a stretch where he has a 750 OPS. That's
higher than that after today.
Yeah, higher than that after today. He's been caught stealing a bunch, for what it's worth.
Oh, it doesn't matter for Jesse Winker.
Well, this is
Jesse Winker has
it does matter for Jesse Winker, but it doesn't for Zach Neto, is what you're implying here.
Zach Neto's much faster.
I rank David Hamilton higher than Neto. I did check. I have David Hamilton 1 spot behind Jackson Merrill. I was doing that comparison earlier, but I don't know how long it'll last for Hamilton. But like he's legitimately a really good base stealer. Stole 71 year in the minors. The power's been better than expected. I'm not sure how long any of it's going to last, but if it does last, he'll continue to play a lot as their primary shortstop and steal a lot of bases and be plenty valuable. So I think in roto leagues, David Hamilton probably needs to be rostered at this point, unless it's just a really, really shallow roto league.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
All right. What do you know? We're moving way too slow, so we're going to skip hitters who are turning their seasons around and kind of blast through some of these pitcher questions that I had. Michael King, should have got to it earlier. 5 innings, 2 runs, 12 strikeouts, 19 whiffs on 98 pitches. Last 5 starts, 2.20 ERA, a .94 whip, 34 strikeouts over 28 2/3. Scott, is the Michael King breakout back on?
Is it back on? I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say with great enthusiasm that it is. Obviously, Michael King's been pitching well of late. He's kind of faded his 4-seamer recently, which seems like a good plan. Tough pitcher to figure out, but if I have him on my roster, I'm happy to have him on my roster.
Fair enough. That's it.
I mean, do you have a firm take otherwise? Maybe you threw it to the most...
No.
The person with the least to say about Michael King.
It's weird because he's gone on this great run. Like, this run has been about as good as his first 6 starts were bad. So we have a really good 6-start stretch, and then we have like a really bad 6-start stretch followed by a really good 5-start stretch. So yeah, I think he can continue to build on this, and the control has gotten a lot better, which I expected to come around eventually.
Well, the fact that strikeouts have been so high during this stretch. So I went back to 8 starts, 2.05 ERA in his last 8 starts, 10.5 K per 9 during that stretch. So that looks a lot more like the Michael King we saw down the stretch last year. And yeah, he is he averaging 6 innings per start? Because I know he had 1 appearance that was not a start. So if we take that one out, he's probably not quite at 6, but he's pretty close.
Yeah, I don't think so. He does have the RP eligibility, which really helps out his value in a head-to-head points league. But yeah, Michael King has turned the season around. What about Bryce Miller? He pitched a gem against the White Sox. No Luis Robert in the lineup there. He threw 7 shutout, 2 hits, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts, had 12 whiffs on 92 pitches, and he just went back to the old trusty fastball. 53% usage on the 4-seamer. It was really good for him in this start, so I get why he used it more. Chris, is this your window Is the window back open to sell high on Bryce Miller right now?
Yes. What's the season ERA down to? It's got to be pretty
340,
decent.
348 with a .98 whip.
Yeah, that's pretty good. The whip is really nice. Still less than a K per 9. I think the thing with Bryce Miller is, for as much work as he has put into developing the rest of his arsenal, he threw 6 pitches today. It's still just everything goes with the fastball. If the fastball's awesome, he's awesome. When it's not, he just doesn't have enough else. And I don't think you can rely on that profile to work out consistently. So yeah, I think he's probably more of a high 3s ERA guy. And yeah, there's a sell window right now. I think you should try to take it if you can.
All right, let's talk about some of the other leftovers. Pitchers part 1, Sonny Gray, awesome, up against the Pirates, 7 innings, 1 run, 9 strikeouts there. Pablo Lopez, a solid bounce back outing up against the Rockies, 5 innings, 2 runs, 5 strikeouts for him. Logan Webb, a quality start up against the Astros, 6 innings, 3 runs, 5 strikeouts to 0 walks. He has a quality start in 6 of his last 7. Scott, anything that stood out from Webb, Pablo Lopez, and Sonny Gray?
Well, I was encouraged to see Sonny Gray go 7 again because 5 of his previous 6 starts had been less than 6 innings, much less 7. Continued to get a lot of strikeouts during that stretch, but that's always been kind of a frustration with Sonny Gray, is that the ratios, even when he's going better, they're not up. He's less effective than his ratios because his starts are so often cut short. Also, Pablo Lopez. I wish we had gotten a chance to talk about this on the Monday show, but his 2-start week that we were touting last Friday got canceled. Got the spot start from Louis Varland on Tuesday, which pushed Lopez back to Wednesday. So just this one start against Colorado doesn't get the second start against Oakland. But hopefully you were still satisfied with what he did in this one. It's happening a lot this time of year. I think maybe there are fewer off days on the schedule right now, and so teams are inserting these extra starters. You talked about Yoshinobu Yamamoto getting pushed back. It's maybe be a little more selective with pitchers. I'm not saying Pablo Lopez is the guy you need to be selective with, but if you're saying I'm only starting this guy because he's 2 starts, well, understand that very likely that second start will get dropped,
especially if it's a Sunday start. I think that if it's Monday, Saturday, maybe you can get away with it, but if it's Tuesday, Sunday, that's a lot riskier.
Pitching standouts part 2, we've got a mixed start from Tanner Bybee at the Reds, 5 1/3, 4 runs allowed, but 11 strikeouts was a season high, 16 whiffs on 102 pitches. Last 6 starts, a 2.83 ERA, .94 whip for Tanner Bybee. Nick Lodolo, a quality start against the Guardians, 6 innings, 2 runs, 6 strikeouts, 13 whiffs on 102 pitches. And Framber Valdez followed up his complete game with a clunker at the Giants, 4 innings, 5 runs, 1 strikeout to 1 walk. And he only threw 59 pitches. There was no injury. This was a tweet from Chandler Rome, who covers the Astros. Framber Valdez is fine physically. Both he and Joe Espada said Espada pulling him after 59 pitches was more due to San Francisco's contact against him and wanting to keep the game within striking distance. So, Chris, anything to add on Bybee, Lodolo, and Framber Valdez?
Lodolo, since coming back from the IL, the production has still been very good. It's an ERA right around like 2.5 or 2.4 after this start, but strikeouts have been disappointing. 19 strikeouts in 23 1/3 innings. Not exactly what we hope for from Nick Lodolo.
The curveball. Are you going to point this out? The curveball, the movement, both horizontal and vertical, down like 3 inches since.
I hadn't seen that. That's okay.
So I'm kind of surprised he's been as effective as he has.
I mean, there's been a lot of weird stuff with the Reds, like quality of contact this season. The pitchers, like Hunter Green has by far the best of his career. Andrew Abbott has had really good results on balls in play, and Lodolo now. So I don't know what's up with that, but yeah, that's the quality of the curveball does look like it's down lately. That's a concern given how important that pitch is for him. That's something to watch. Yeah, good catch.
All right, some quick hitter mentions, some leftovers. There was a lot, but I'll just mention a few of them. Seiya Suzuki had himself a big game, 2 for 4 with a sock and a shoe, his 8th home run, his 4th steal. As soon as I move Nico Horner down the rankings, he returns and steals 2 bases. So great
with
job,
his fractured hand.
Giancarlo Stanton, the redemption season continues, 2 for 5 with his 17th homer. That's back-to-back days with a home run for Stanton. And Jeimer Candelario continues his tear, 3 for 4 with a double dong, 4 RBI. His first 23 games this season, he hit 159 with a 580 OPS. Last 37 games for Candelario, 292 batting average, 9 homers, 23 RBI, 2 steals, tons of line drives. He's up to 80% rostered. Could be out there in some of the shallowest leagues, and I would look to change that. This kind of looks like the sleeper we were expecting in Jeimer Candelario. Some bullpen updates for the Brewers. Trevor McGill allowed a hit and a walk, but struck out 1 for his 11th save. For the Giants, Camilo Doval struck out 1 for his 12th. For the A's, Mason Miller entered the 9th with the game tied. He gave up a walk-off homer to Jackson Merrill. For the Orioles, Craig Kimbrell struck out 1 for his 16th save. For the Nationals, Kyle Finnegan got the 9th with a 3-run lead. He gave up a solo homer, but converted his 19th save. For the Cubs, Hector Neris got the 9th with a 2-run lead. He gave up 1 run on a walk and 2 hits. He picked up his 10th save. Neris has been shaky. I just don't think there's anywhere else they can go. There's not really anyone there to threaten Hector Neris in the Cubs bullpen. For the Reds, Alexis Diaz pitched a clean 9th for his 14th save. For the Red Sox, Kenley Jansen gave up a run but picked up his 10th save. And for the Cardinals, Ryan Helsley gave up a hit but struck out 1 for his, I believe, league leading.
Yeah, how about Helsley leading the league in saves on the last place team? It's not like they're like, yeah, they're. Did the Reds win today? Yeah, Alexis Diaz just got a save.
Yeah, they did.
So yeah, the Cardinals are in last place. They're 32 and 34, so it's not like they're a disaster, but just 22 saves.
I think the Pirates dropped behind them. Actually, it's
you're right.
It's basically a 4-way tie for last place. By winning percentage. It's basically the Brewers are running away with that, and everyone else is tied for 2nd or 5th, depending how you look at it.
Even though the Brewers have 0 healthy pitchers.
Mm-hmm. To stream or not to stream, on Thursday, we have... Oh, I remember this day.
I mean, Cole Irvin against the Braves, right?
Yeah.
Like at home?
In Baltimore, yeah.
100%. Yeah, I think so. And if I had to choose 2 others, I would say Taj Bradley against the Cubs and Lance Lynn against the Pirates.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best options.
I like Bradley,
them, but
I'd prefer Bradley to Cole Irvin, actually.
And I did not write down Friday, so I'm just going to quickly scour the matchups. I think Kyle Gibson at the Cubs. I think that's doable. He's pitched pretty well recently.
Not bad.
Cooper Criswell against the Yankees. Don't think we want to do that.
Nope.
Logan T. Allen at the Blue Jays.
Nope.
Matt Waldron. I don't know if he's too rostered, but he is at the Mets.
Yeah. So one thing I would keep an eye on. I guess
76%. Doesn't really mean it.
Still good. If you can start Waldron, still a good idea.
Yeah, you should.
The Marlins have not set their rotation for the upcoming series, and Max Meyer, I believe, has not pitched in a week. And they've got an open rotation spot Friday. They are TBA against the Nationals. So that's something to keep an eye on, because there's a quote that he was going to come back soon. Not necessarily sure I'd love streaming him, given he's struggled on his not rehab assignment, but it's just demotion. Mm-hmm. But that's one to keep an eye on, certainly.
A couple other names here. Any interest in Sean Manaea against the Padres?
Not really.
No.
Simeon Woods Richardson against Oakland?
That might be the second best that we've talked about for Friday.
Okay.
Did you mention Hunter Brown against the Tigers?
I
would do that. I would stream him. He's been pretty good for like a month plus now.
Yeah.
And the Tigers are very streamable. Don't love the win potential against Tarek Skubal, but still.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty good trio there. Hunter Brown against the Tigers, Kyle Gibson at the Cubs, and Simeon Woods-Richardson against the Oakland A's.
Yeah, I don't see any other ones.
We are going to wrap there for Scott and Chris. I am Frank. Thanks as always for tuning in to Fantasy Baseball today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify. And we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.